today I want to peel back the layers of what our skin could be telling us, telling you, how we're going to start interpreting the signals. And I'll tell you, this is legit people's favorite topic. And we love answering these questions. Why? Because you know the acne is way more than you.
Face mapping that we have, we use it alongside your symptoms and your functional lab results. It's never just about one thing. We're not going off just your symptoms, just your labs, just your face map. We use these tools together to create a holistic picture of what's happening internally. If we are seeing, the inflamed breakouts, the congestion on the cheeks, this is a big digestion linked zone. So it can actually be showing the stomach's ability to break down, absorb nutrients like your proteins, your fats. And if your stomach acid is low, there's food sensitivities, we might be seeing this pop up on the cheeks as well.
Today, I'm pretty excited. And when I get excited, listen, it's a thing. So face mapping. And people are like, face what? If you've been following us for a while, we talk about this. So face mapping. This is not something that we just fell upon. It is seriously one of those ancient practices with modern relevance. I like to say, really what it does is it links specific areas of your face to internal organs and bodies. Have you ever wondered why you keep having breakouts on your chin or your cheeks, or they're inflamed, or it's cystic, or it's always between your eyes, right? Because it might not be just about that skincare routine. You know that. We don't really believe that's like one pillar of everything. So face mapping suggests those blemishes and really the imbalances is what I'd like to say. They could be tied to digestion, hormones, liver health, even our lungs. When do we talk about lungs? Anybody? Unless you have a bronchial something, it's not happening. So really face mapping is rooted in traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic principles. What it is, or I would say it's become a very powerful tool in holistic nutrition and functional wellness. We use it all the time. We think we've really nailed the face mapping. We've done an acne face mapping, something that we've seen. So we've used the traditional Chinese because listen, go on your little net search. You're going to see 1,700 different versions. So over the last few years, we've been really able to refine a system. Right? So today I want to peel back the layers of what our skin could be telling us, telling you, how we're going to start interpreting the signals. And I'll tell you, this is legit people's favorite topic. And we love answering these questions. Why? Because you know the acne is way more than you.
Fun fact, Chris Brown, is while you were chatting, our top two, we do recipe blogs and we do educational blogs. Our top two blogs, the number one spot goes to our gut healing chicken soup. But the number one educational blog on the KSW site is the acne face mapping blog. I first published it back in February of 2021. So it's been there for a while, but it has over 25,000 views on this blog. And we actually just recently updated it earlier this year in 2025. And like Cris just said, is face mapping has been used in traditional Chinese medicine for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But what we've done is over the last few years, after we've worked with thousands and thousands of clients, we've taken this traditional ancient face mapping and given it a really modern lift. So it is very similar. We've just kind of tweaked it ever so slightly based on what we've seen with the thousands of women we've worked with.
Super powerful, underrated. Your Western doctor will say poo-poo. I promise you, we've been there. It provides us another piece of your medical history, your intake form, your functional test, your blood labs. This is something the body is trying to tell you. And when we look at it as a messenger system, then, acne is not so hard on the mindset. It's not so hard to understand. Again, when clients come in and they are like, Cris, what does this marker mean? Or to all the other coaches that are trained in the exact same face mapping tool that we've posted, we're able to say, this is what it looks like. This is what it does by symptoms. And this is what it compresses. Because every body system in traditional Chinese medicine has a sister, a partner, a BFF. So example, spleen, stomach. Those are easy ones. So outside of that, we can go in and break them down if we want.
And we can say that we also have this on the blog. I'm going to put it in the show notes so that way when you can go and see the beautiful face map that our graphic designers did for us. It's beautiful. It is based off of Chris's chicken scratch. She literally had this like crumpled piece of lined paper that she scribbled all over. And our designers, shout out to the Lemons, they took it and they made it into this beautiful face map for us. Face mapping that we have, we use it alongside your symptoms and your functional lab results. It's never just about one thing. We're not going off just your symptoms, just your labs, just your face map. We use these tools together to create a holistic picture of what's happening internally. All right, so we got about 13 areas of the face to go through. You can always reference the blog that we have linked in the show notes. So first up, let's start with the middle of the forehead, right? So right in the middle of the forehead, which is going to be our small intestine. So if we keep getting breakouts in this area, that is right smack dab in the middle of your forehead, this could be your small intestine calling for backup. So this area is linked in traditional Chinese medicine and our experience to that small intestine. And it's often one of those first zones to react when your digestion is off, your microbiome is out of balance.
If you look at teenagers, where do they get their acne usually first? Right in here. And they love their sugar. And because they were wee, they wouldn't understand how to communicate food intolerances. So this is probably a compound thing. Add in some stressors, boom, it comes out here, and it comes in puberty because now the body's shifting. It's trying to prepare for further development. It needs certain proteins and stuff, and it can no longer live or fuel off just the sugar or these other bases. So the other thing is low hydrochloric acid, right? So we got to just stomach acid. Yeah. So that could be it as well. So how are you going to support it?
Well, if we're dealing with low digestive function like low stomach acid, we're going to be chewing very, very well. We got to chew for the poo. We're going to be limiting our liquid intake while we're eating. We drink too much, we're going to dampen our digestive fire. And maybe we need to be adding in some digestive enzymes or digestive bitters, which you can grab via our favorite ones in the Gut Loving cheat sheet in the show notes as well. Really optimizing digestion would be really helpful.
Yeah, and I'll just rip the Band-Aid off. We really have to look at the sugar, the gluten, and conventional dairy here. This is where it's going to show up. And probably by the time it's hit the forehead, there has already been cases of bronchial, congestion, or clearing throat, or constant sniffing, or even cravings. Watch those. That should tell you which ones you want to start off first.
And maybe we can see some candida, like if we're dealing with a candida overgrowth, maybe we got a bacterial overgrowth like a SIBO. So yeah. So overgrowth, food sensitivities, poor digestion is what we're going to be seeing here. Then if we move to the sides of the forehead, so either side of that section, this is going to be what, Cris? Bladder. So this can signal maybe some sluggish detoxification through that area. This is where it's really going to be helping your body to eliminate waste. So if toxins can't exit efficiently, maybe we're going to start seeing that on the skin.
Absolutely. And remember, the bladder is the house of what? Urine and really elimination. This is where we need to get toxins and everything out. So your water needs to be up. We need foods. You can get 4 cups of water through food, such as cucumbers and celery. But you know what I mean? We have to look at that. Like, are we overdoing alcohol, caffeine, or these types of things? If we can't get it out, it gets stagnant. And then not only that, now our forehead that was congested with bacteria, we're not flushing this out. It goes into the bladder to say, hey, what about women? Yeast infections, UTIs.
So maybe we're going to be drinking some filtered water. Maybe we add a pinch of sea salt or some trace minerals in there. Mm-hmm. We're going to be looking at reducing our caffeine intake, definitely reducing our alcohol intake.
Try a decaf if it's your coffee, or move to matcha in Katie's world. So again, it's really getting that filtering, and it benefits also the small intestine and the rest of the body. Remember, water, you'll probably hear this over and over again as we talk, but water hydrates the skin. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to assist your skin. So it makes sense that we want to get water up, right?
Let's talk about the eyebrow area, in the brow, above the brow.
Good old heart.
The good old heart. So I know it sounds all like, oh, well, what imbalances are going on in my heart? But it doesn't just have to be physical heart things. It can actually be emotional signals as well that can be going on here.
It could also be, if we did want to add that emotional complement, is joy. How much joy do you have? right? It could just be the lack of joy, these types of things. It could be blood sugar, because that's part of it. So if we're having blood sugar crashes, if we're not balancing our proteins, fats, and fibers, if we have high stress and anxiety, that leads more into that blood sugar instability, which is also, remember, when we get stressed, things kind of like they crunch up. And that's going to vasoconstrict. So now we're going to get poor circulation. And of course, it's probably going to be compounded to above the eyebrows, side of head, forehead. And now it's kind of morphing. Or if you're like, this is the big question. I've never had acne there. Why am I getting it now? Because there's another system that is able to send the message. That is the simple answer.
So, we can be looking at, like Cris said, balancing our meals with protein, fiber, healthy fats. The KSW blog's got a lot of those recipes.
Everywhere.
Moving our body, because this is going to increase circulation, blood flow, nutrient flow throughout your system as well. And again, reducing that caffeine intake, and including some calming practices into your day. Yeah, it says, just know we are both mothers of humans. So we understand it's not always going to be that easy, but I always try to add something for myself at the end of the day, like reading.
Yeah, anything, just something. And if you're not doing it now, 5 minutes a day is what I'm asking you to start with. 5 minutes. If you have to lock yourself in the bathroom, when the kids were younger, I would say this: when I am out of the bathroom, we are going to start cleaning. Oh, I got a half hour in that sucker. Right? So just try what you can.
I love that. I'm going to do that. I haven't peed by myself in over a decade. If there's a dog, there's a kid, I'm like, can I just go pee by myself, please?
So, well, that actually connects to another area between the eyebrows, because that would be the liver, and that's seats of anger. So when we don't get time, we start to get resentful and we can have anger. So it makes sense.
I'm just laughing because, like, while I don't get acne anymore, I might get the odd pimple pop up here and there. It's generally going to be like between the brows, or I might get one on like my chin. But yeah, is that because, my liver is so angry?
Maybe just a little bit. I try different facial things. Katie makes me try different facial things. I'm just letting everybody
all
know.
The time. I'm constantly shipping her things.
Yeah, so I am an avid trier of the things now. We had Dr. Patel, and I applied the glutathione.
Yeah, that was a great episode. If you haven't listened to Dr. Patel on glutathione, go back and listen to it.
And I did it, and then Cris started getting a couple acnes in here.
Oh, look what's happening with your liver.
Right? And sometimes when our liver is congested, and I have Hashi, so I know absolutely 7,000% I have a congested liver, like always, because I'm constantly putting pharmaceuticals in. That's what can happen. And it's just a nice little thing. So yeah, I got two. No, it wasn't around my menses. I was able to isolate it. And I did not panic. I was like, look at that.
Look at my glutathione's working.
Makes sense, right?
Okay, so when we're looking between the brows, that's going to be heavily liver. So maybe we're dealing with some hormonal shifts going through the liver. Maybe we have a toxin buildup. Maybe we're feeling a little emotionally overwhelmed. Maybe you're just so stressed, or you're so angry or resentful, or even frustration that we can't, again, get into that seat of joy. And that just perpetuates, right? So we're not in the seat of joy. We're in the seat of anger, because we can't be in both, right? You cannot be heart-centered and present if you're thinking about 4 days from now, or you're thinking about, oh my gosh, why did I say that 4 days ago? So that is a lot to do. And I am telling every acne sufferer right now, I know you get it here periodically. I know you do. You say, well, I don't get it. Oh, but you will. It could be in your brows too as well. But I mean, it will come in there. And I want you to check yourself. Am I giving myself enough time for love? Am I giving myself any dedication? Am I expressing myself? That's not just the thyroid, right? Like, you have to be able to be into the seat of joy. Am I in the seat of joy? When's the last time I felt true joy? But also supporting healthy daily bowel movements, so critical for our liver. Cris, explain why. We need to eliminate, or it's going to congest, so it backs up. It's like being at the fairgrounds and everybody wants the same ride, and you have this big long lineup. We can't have toxins do that, because as you're getting frustrated, as your toddler's getting frustrated, these types of things, whatever it is, we have to keep things going. And if we don't have solid bowel movements, one, we could have estrogen buildup, and we see this a lot, right? We can't get that out.
we can't get out the pathogens. We need to get out the pathogens because by the time we have acne, we probably have an overgrowth of something or an imbalance of something that is not going to be quote unquote cured by probiotics like many people think. So we have to get on the Bristol stool chart. We have to get that 3 or 4. We have to get that solid bowel movement. We really food in, a meal in, poop out. So we're supposed to have 3 bowel movements a day. Even one bowel movement can be constipation, right? Because we don't know how long that's been in there. So either way, as long as you're pooping every single day, I will be joyful for you. And we want to make sure they're unicorns. So please look at that Bristol stool chart. We'll throw it into the show notes. And I need you to look at that 3 or 4. If you're not getting it, if you're having raging diarrhea, if you're having, other symptoms with it, or just chronic constipation, I am telling you, that's the first thing we're going to be working on.
And we also want to be cutting back on the toxins in our environment. So like really looking to go clean skincare, clean beauty products, clean house products. Because remember, all of these toxins in our environment, they're going to need to be filtered by our liver because it's one of its main functions. Mm-hmm. And also reducing our alcohol consumption. I think we've said that numerous times. It's going to be so great for so many of your body systems and your skin. And like we've been talking about a lot, is working through unresolved emotional upsets and traumas, because again, that seed of anger.
100%. That goes to around the eyes.
Oh yeah, we're moving now to around the eyes because it's stomach, liver, kidneys.
Yeah. By the time we get there, the body is at this point super congested, I would say, in my practice anyway.
And just to make a note is there are some body systems that show up on multiple areas of the face. So you may hear us mention the same body systems a few times. Like this one that we're talking about now, we're around the eyes, we're looking at the stomach, the liver, the kidneys. So it can really speak volumes to what's happening here. Whether it's little bumps, it's puffiness, it's dark circles. We're going to be looking at things like dehydration, low mineral levels, poor fat digestion, sluggish bile, weak digestion, poor nutrient absorption, sluggish thyroid, histamine intolerances. That's what we're going to be looking at here.
This is a real reactive area. Like I was saying, by the time it gets here, we've got a lot of things going. Even thyroid imbalances, it's not so much thyroid imbalances. They're going to start with more of that black circle or the half moon. And you're going to hear people say, oh, you look tired. And you're like, I feel great. I don't know what you're talking about. And then when the puffiness comes out, now we want to start maybe looking at autoimmune for the thyroid, because that's a little connector in there. Histamine, when we get the rashes, that's definitely a connector. Why do we have the intolerance? Do we have a secretory IgA? Do we have a mucosal barrier that's corrupt? Do we not have enough hydrochloric acid in our stomach, right? And you don't need the markers on your face. Your file is going to tell us this. So it's not just, you can't drink enough water just to go and clean this stuff. When the body goes out, now we have to look at it and we have to start where you are and piece it all the way backwards. And you have to unravel. Essentially what you're doing is you're unraveling your history. And, so in like 3 years ago, when you had heartburn, we might go through the process and you might start getting heartburn again. And then we change it and then we keep going down and you'll start to see the symptoms that you had in succession. They're happening in the same way. But again, looking at the face, it's, how's digestion? How do you feel after digestion? How are your bowels? Because that's part of digestion. Digestion starts in your mouth all the way down to the anus. That's a massive tube where anything goes awry and the rest of the dominoes aren't going to fall. So those are my kind of things, right? So of course, stomach, we're going to chew for the poo. We're going to drink water. We're going to detoxify for the liver and the kidneys. The kidneys are codependent on that. The seat of fear and the seat of acne is kidneys. So usually we do see some kind of discoloration, even eye pockets that where your face has a certain color, but around your eyes, it has more a lighter tone, what we see as purple as coaches.
Yes, because when we're looking at faces, we're not just looking at the pimples themselves. We're looking at the coloring of the pimples, the coloring around the pimples, and the coloring of your face. Is there different hueing of purple or, we're looking at lots of things.
Yeah, if we're looking at yellow, I'm looking for, do we have sluggish bile? Or can we emulsify our fats? These types of things, right? So yeah, this is a zone that everybody can use and work on, and we can look at it. And when we go in the mirror, we don't want to be looking all the time at, oh my gosh, what's going on with my eyes? What's going on with my stomach? What's going on with, and why is the acne? Again, it's a messenger system. And when you start to work in synergy with holistic practices, this stuff, we see the changes in the photos, right? It's fantastic. We're like, oh my gosh, congratulations to your stomach.
What about temples? We're looking at the gallbladder.
Sometimes I don't always see cystic in this area.
No, it's more like small, bumpy congestion.
Yeah, and there's lots. Or they cluster. Think about fat globules, they cluster. This kind of clusters as well. So the gallbladder stores and pumps out bile acids that's produced through cholesterol in the liver,
which helps to break down fats and even clear hormones like estrogen.
Yeah, all your hormones, every hormone, whether it's ghrelin, leptin, cortisol, like adrenaline, these types, it's not just your sex hormones. They are all fat-based. They are codependent. Your brain is based on cholesterol. So please don't go whip all cholesterol out of your diet because your brain will suffer too, right? But we need to make sure you're emulsifying it. So if we've got congestion in there, I'm definitely going to the gallbladder. I'm looking absolutely at other markers for the liver. This isn't a liver first approach, right? We can even see, again, you said that estrogen buildup. So are you having bowel movements, right? Yellow bowels or tinge of yellow in your bowels, or the goop, there is a name for it, but the goop in your eyes after you eat a fatty meal, if it's a greenish or a yellow, again, gallbladder. So it's not just isolated to the acne. These are all the things we're using to move your file forward, right?
Right. Like maybe with that poor fat digestion, you're feeling heavy or bloated after eating. You got that sluggish bile flow, maybe a gallbladder removal. This is where we can be starting to add some bitter foods, right? So arugula, dandelion, radish, things like that.
They're gross. I don't like any of those.
I like radish in salads. I have the fattoush salad we have on a blog has radish in it.
I really like radishes.
We can be supporting fat digestion, having those good healthy fats. Yeah. And if you're somebody that has your gallbladder removed, you might want to be considering like an ox bile. Nose, which is the heart, which we already talked about, and the pancreas.
Double whammy. So sometimes the nose can actually have a purple tinge to it. And I'm looking at, do we have the blood sugar stability? Do we have circulation? Anything in purple is not oxygenated. So if you look at the veins, the blue is non-oxygenated blood. Anything with the red is oxygenated. So, when you get your blood draw, it's hitting oxygen. Boom, we're in. It's red. So at this is big for circulation, huge. This can also be very much pancreatic strain. And what I mean by that is our diet high in sugars? Is the pancreas constantly having to release insulin? Do we have high stress? Because stress really impedes, remember that vasodilation really impedes on circulation. And can we actually get the flow of, the fight or flight and stuff? Fight or flight opens up our power system so that we can run. And the thing is, but we can't have it all the time because then other hormones have to come out to negate it. So, do you have strong sugar cravings? Often we can see this with oily skin as well. Not all the time though. So don't make that as a big marker. That's just more in like blackheads on the nose. But again, there can be an emotional component in there, right? And when I say overuse of stimulants, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're consuming caffeine or alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It could also be the stimulants of overusing your hormones, overusing your nervous system. That could be a stimulant as well.
So from here, we can be having some blood sugar supportive, loving treats and meals and snacks, which would be a combination of protein, fiber, and healthy fats. And if you need an example, a protein would be like an animal base, so a chicken, a turkey, a fish. Plant base would be lentils, legumes, nuts, seeds, quinoa, whatever that may be. And then fibers would be coming from, you get fiber from raspberries, from avocado, from your nuts, your seeds. And then healthy fats can, again, things like, you're going to see there in a couple categories, but avocado, nuts, seeds, olive oils, olives if you're Cris Brown. So if you're including a little bit of each in each meal, it'll help with your blood sugar. Also cutting back on that refined sugar and those processed snacks will be really, really important, and supporting circulation in your body. So with some movement, legs up the wall, and including some stress relief.
The other thing I wanted to mention is if there is a red hue in the crevice of the nostril and that kind of comes out with like active acne pustules versus the blackheads.
Well, we're moving into the cheeks and the upper lip, which is stomach.
Stomach. Yeah, for sure.
So let's be looking at that stomach where If we are seeing, the inflamed breakouts, the congestion on the cheeks, this is a big digestion linked zone. So it can actually be showing the stomach's ability to break down, absorb nutrients like your proteins, your fats. And if your stomach acid is low, there's food sensitivities, we might be seeing this pop up on the cheeks as well.
100%. You may see GERD, acid reflux, heartburn. That's going to validate it more. Again, heavy feeling in the stomach where it's only resolved by sugar. That could be not enough energy or digestive juices to get that fire going. We're going to see nutrient deficiencies, so calcium, zinc, even vitamins like B's that are needed, especially B12, because you need the intrinsic factor from that catalyst. So these are the things. I mean, there's other things going on in there too, but again, when we look at the cheeks, the right side of the cheek and the left side, so the right side is going to be more yang, the left side is yin. So it can be overconsumption. Are we eating too many heat-based foods? Like, do we constantly have ginger or turmeric? Those build up heat, as an example. Or root vegetables, these types of things. Yin is more, think anything that grows out of the ground, like green leafy vegetables or cooling foods, right? So just watching and navigating between them, because it could actually be the types of foods that are creating more of the imbalance. I mean, we won't go into like the feminine and male energy that all shows up on the face too. However, the cheeks are huge.
Mm-hmm. Cheeks are a big one. And, maybe this is where we're going to be chewing well. We're going to be, eating in a calm, relaxed setting. So that way we're sitting in our rest and digest and not our fight or flight while we're eating in the car, supporting digestion with the bitters or the enzymes, focusing on some foods that are loving up your gut. Mm-hmm. These are all going to be really helpful for this area. Next. Yeah. Ready? It's the nasolabial fold. So it's like that folds that are coming down from the corners of your nose. So this is the large intestine. Yeah. So breakouts around this area, maybe our bowels are struggling, maybe the large intestine, because remember, our large intestine is heavily about waste elimination. So if we're dealing with constipation, our microbiome is imbalanced, maybe we're seeing toxins and hormones recirculate, and your skin's going to start taking the brunt of it in these areas.
Oh, 100%. Like, this is where the unicorn has to be predominant. And this is where things go awry, right? The large intestine, its job legit is to extrapolate the rest of the water, because all the nutrients should have been gone and filtered by that point, and create the bulk of the stool. Why aren't we pooping? Right? And if you've ever seen a diabetic gut, and that's like the actual phrase, it's a diabetic gut, is you can see someone from behind and they look perfectly like symmetrical, slender, and then they turn around and they have this protruding gut. I guess Jackson would say, "Are you pregnant, mommy?" Right? But it could be larger as well, and that's the only thing that could be backed up feces in the large intestine as well, right? So that's why, because things get really slow. If we're getting this in, why are we slow? Why is the motility slow? Why aren't we able to? This is a big deal. You do not have water. You do not have fiber. You do not get lack of congestion in the large intestine. And again, around either the lower lip or underneath the lower lip. If it's around the whole lip, again, gut dysbiosis is probably where I'm going to go, or bacterial overgrowth, 100%. I was going to say, if you can tolerate ferments, because I don't think ferments are also just the answer for everything. I know we hear that a lot on social. It drives me nuts. Just eat your fermented foods. Okay, well, let's go back up to the eyes. Do we have histamine? These types of things. Eating fiber is phenomenal. It is a gentle broom that goes down your intestinal cavity so that when you're ready to make that bulk stool, you have it there.
Yeah. So think chia seeds, flaxseed, raspberries, avocados, like so many different options there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Sometimes we can get into the psyllium husk or the cassia fiber, these types of things if we need it. Gar gums. Not all gar gum is bad. Right. I know we don't want it in everything. And I'm not talking the food industry, but I'm actually talking like supplement form is a little bit different. You'd have to know what to look out for. But these things can just help the body. But do not start there. Don't be like, oh, I need a quick fix, because I will tell you, unless you do it in succession with water and fiber together, you will back up and it will be so uncomfortable, painful, or a doctor's visit.
Let's do under the nose, aka spleen. Yeah. So that little space between your nose and your upper lip. we got to give it a little attention here, because this can play a really key role in our digestion, our immune function, converting our food to energy. So this can be a sign that there's overwork, undernourishment, frequent energy crashes. So
this is
sugar.
Also the organ that needs warmth. So if we are predominantly left side and cheeks, remember stomach and spleen. So left side and cheeks is the spleen could be like, oh my gosh, I need a little bit more, because that's the yin of it. And I don't want to complicate it, but you see how it's a little bit, even though we're going into detail and we've given the blog and you can look at it again, how we have to look at the synergy between the organs. The spleen also helps create hydrochloric acid. Just think about that. And digestion. So when the stomach's overloaded and we're not doing well, and maybe we're losing the mucosal barrier that is in there, like the mucus lining, these types of things, not the mucosal barrier, that's a different part of the organ, ignore me. But the mucus lining in the stomach, it goes, hey, spleen, like, I am tired. Can you please help me out? And the spleen's like, yeah, okay. And then the spleen's like, we've been doing this for 2 weeks. Honestly, it reminds me of the time somebody gave me their dog and they came back for it 3 months later. So similar, right? So then the spleen gets congested and now the immune system goes down. And now we're working maybe with even more issues inside, growth, overgrowth, and all of these things, these immune related. But at the end of the day, it goes back to digestion. The spleen does not have to be burdened if we do a really good job of converting our food into energy. Right? Absorbing our food for nourishment and balancing our energy. This is legit mental burnout. Your spleen goes off, there's mental burnout. Think about worrying and overthinking.
So we were thinking, overthinking, worrying, mental burnout, weak digestion, poor carb breakdown.
Yeah.
So we're going to be supporting this area by eating regular grounding meals. Like we're thinking the warming things like soups, stews, roasted root veggies. Again, we're balancing that blood sugar with protein, fiber, fat. And guess what? Slowing down and resting. It's okay. Chris and I are giving you permission to rest more. Do less laundry.
Do less laundry. Dole that mission out. Somebody else can do.
Next, lower cheeks and jawline.
Lungs.
I know. And a lot of people are going to be surprised because everyone's like, oh no, my jawline means it's just my hormones.
A lot of people link that with testosterone. In fact, I link elevated testosterone with a very symmetrical line underneath the cheekbone more than anything. And I'm not saying, again, remember everybody, it's not exclusive. I'm also going to be looking at the gallbladder to see what the hormones are doing, right? And how we're eliminating these types of things.
What's interesting here is that your lungs can also be closely tied to your immune system, right? The health of your skin barrier, because when our lungs are compromised, the skin barrier becoming more reactive, more dry, more inflamed. So if we're seeing a lot of flare-ups here, like first we want to be looking like, are you overusing like acids and retinoids and everything that is stripping the skin barrier? But maybe we need to be looking at environmental allergens, even emotional heaviness. Like grief is heavily linked to the lungs. So if we are dealing with a lot of grief, that area is going to be more sensitive.
True. So the other thing is when we're looking at the lungs, when the lungs get congested, they repress down and they put pressure on the bowels. And then we may get constipation. And the lungs think respiratory, chronic respiratory infections, sinusitis, even because it can mucus. Every time you get sick, does it always end up in your lung? Or do you always have this like wicked cough? Or do you have a cough now that sounds mucusy? I don't know if that even makes sense to people, but when you cough, it doesn't sound dry. It sounds like there's like little boogers in there that want to come out. I have no other better way of saying that, Katie. So
yeah, I was like, that's really lovely way to say it.
That's lovely, but it's true. It just doesn't sound like there's something else in there. That can be part of that lung, and that could be part of the congestion. And that's what happens. And one of the things, everybody's going to love me for this. This is where, when I see this, I am like, let's talk about the dairy and let's talk about what I can help you with to reposition the dairy you're consuming now.
Yes, because that dairy can be mucus forming.
Huge mucus former. Yeah. So, I mean, for sure, we want to get gentle movement and bring oxygen to the air, right?
Fresh air, deep breathing.
Yeah.
All of that. Great.
All of those things, and the thing is what about breathing exercises? We know that I am huge on breathing exercises. There's not a client that doesn't get the tutorial on breathing exercises. So we got to bring it in, whether it's the 4-7-8, whether it's box breathing, whether it's long exhale. Like there are many different breathing exercises and they have different properties. There's a psychological sigh in, and then you in again really quickly, and then slow out. Like there's a bunch of different things we can do. We are very shallow breathers, so we need to bring more oxygen in. And when we do it, we need to be mindful, right? What's going on? What do I need? How much love? Where's my attention? These types of things, because that's going to support the lungs as well.
Like an elevator. The last one, which everybody's been waiting for, which is the chin and portions of the jawline, which, yes, let's talk pelvic organs and hormones, everybody. I know neck, we can throw the neck in here as well. So cystic breakouts, if we're seeing them here, this can, again, be a sign that there is a hormonal imbalance going on. But remember, it's not just about your hormones. Your hormones rely on the asterisks. Your hormones rely on the health of your detox systems and your gut. So let's just remember that. But we can be seeing that this area is going to be reflecting ovaries, uterus, overall hormonal health. Maybe we're dealing with post-pill acne, PCOS, periods coming up. But also, we want to be looking at stress, right? Cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, plays a role here. And then also want to be thinking about thyroid hormones, blood sugar regulations. All of this is impacting our skin, not just the sex hormones.
No, you can't isolate, right? This is why we say it. So I see, like, especially down the neck where everyone thinks this is more PCOS, I see more estrogen or low progesterone. And again, in that little crevice of your chin, I will first go after your blood sugar stability and your adrenal regulation. I don't want to talk about sex hormones right off the bat because we just went through all the reasons why. Right? I am going to listen. I'm going to understand. I'm going to appreciate the connections. How many people that go through the program end up with a predominant 5-ADHT or an imbalance of that specific 5-ADHT that this is the most potent androgen. That is true acne by hormone. Again, if your bowels aren't there, I know you're probably going to have estrogen dominance. If you've been chronically stressed, I know you're probably going to have low progesterone. And I know your mood's probably going to be altered. I know your sleep's going to be off because your GABA pathways also work on this. So we're not calm, right? Yeah, androgens, they can show up here. Don't get me wrong. The difference is we're going to be looking at the type of acne. We're going to be looking at deep cystic acne, maybe on the jawline, right? And it has a specific look, which I can't explain. So when we see it, we're like, even when it goes down the neck, the thing is people like, I get cystic acne. Yes, but this isn't cystic in the sense, are they more pustule? So that's what happens more kind of with estrogen. Think about the buildup of poop and then the yellow hue more versus testosterone tends to come in raging with anger. And I think red. I mean, not exclusive, but usually as a general encompass.
So here, this is where we want to be balancing our blood sugar. We're not skipping meals or having protein, fiber, fat. We're eating enough calories in the day, please and thank you. We are including some cruciferous vegetables. And if they don't digest well, make sure you're cooking them well because maybe raw just isn't suited for you. Lots of fiber because remember, we're going to be excreting excess estrogen through our stool. So making sure we're hydrated, we're getting the fiber in, aiming for anywhere from like 30, 35 to 45 grams a day. We are heavily looking at where are the endocrine disruptors or hormone disruptors in our skincare, in our beauty products, in the plastics that we store our food in, the plastic water bottles, the cleaning products. So really getting aware of where those hormone disruptors are because they can be coming in, mimicking hormones in your body, which is going to be throwing those hormones off. A really great resource would be the EWG Skin Deep database. They are phenomenal. Or Think Dirty as well for products. EWG also has a clean products one as well. You know, this is where we're going to be wanting to store things in glass. So the glass lock, like the glass version of Tupperware, mason jars.
And then plastic water bottles in the car. If you do have to get one, that's a hard no. That's just a leach.
And again, having those healthy bowel movements to excrete those excess hormones out.
Yeah. And just remember as you're like, oh my gosh, this organ and this organ, because this is what people do.
Yeah, oh my gosh, all the organs.
Isn't it so wonderful at this point to know that there was no way you were going to connect this unless you were educated otherwise?
This is not the average. You're not learning this in school.
This is beyond. This is holistic health. This is from the tip of the hair follicle all the way down to the toe. This is everything encompassing. This is using your history, using your even your past traumas, thoughts, toxins, all of that has to combine into all of this acne. Acne is not there to like piss you off. Acne is there to say, I can no longer do it. Please help me. And this is the only way it can tell you is through, unfortunately, acne. And again, I will say this 700 times. Take and choose your hard, because acne is not fun because it's external. There's people that I have worked with, and Katie, when you had private clients, we have worked with, and they were all internal and they didn't know. And unfortunately, there was bigger issues, right? So acne comes out, and we get to get a handle on it quick.
It's a road flare that
it's urgency.
Yeah, you're paying attention to it, right? You're definitely paying attention to it.
I say be thankful for your acne. You don't have to love it, but be thankful.
Yeah, it's telling you there's something off, and it's a good motivator to get your health in order, isn't it? Isn't it? Your
body loves you. It's not there to trick you. It's not there to go behind your back. It's not there to steal your boyfriend. It is there to love you through thick and thin. Allow it to do so, because it is, by giving you the acne.
All right, everybody. Remember, if you need more help with this, we are always here in the Clear Skin Solution. You can learn more about working with us. Just check the show notes. We would love to have you. That way we can be going through your face mapping, your functional labs, your symptoms, and finally get your skin cleared up. So another episode for us here at the Clear Skin Chronicles. We will see you again, same time next week.